Sorry that my party didn't listen to you. The Conservative Party has let you down. You, the great British people, voted for us over 14 years, and we did not keep our promises.
Oh, interesting. Fighting talk always from Suella Braverman. Dehenna Davison, what do you make of that? I mean, she'd written over the weekend and in the press recently sort of overtures to reform, and there was lots of commentary that she may well either move to reform or defect, or whatever it might be. What do you make of what she said there and where she might go in the future, leadership or defection?
I think her legal background was coming out there because the wording she used was very careful. There was an apology, but it wasn't, I'm sorry that we didn't listen to you. I'm sorry the Conservative Party, sort of detaching herself from any responsibility. And let's bear in mind, she talks about immigration. She was Home Secretary. She could have got a grip. She could have stood up against Cabinet. She could have, you know, resigned in a much more spectacular fashion. She didn't. She didn't get a grip over immigration.
Oh, she could have done, of course, and she wasn't a particularly successful Home Secretary. It wasn't not an easy issue, but she wasn't a very successful thing she could have done. She didn't do. But it was interesting she said she wasn't listening to the public, or the Conservative Party not listening to the public. My question is, which bit of the public does she mean? Does she mean the people on the far-right end of the spectrum, or does she mean the people in the middle, like Jeremy Hunt?
And that is the question.
And I think this is the soul-searching the party has to do. And I think at some point we have to make a decision on where we're going to pitch ourselves. We can be a coalition, we can be a broad church, and we always will be. But at some point our messaging has to be consistent and focus like an arrow. And it's going to have to come down on one side or the other.
Does Nigel Farage focus the mind on that? So anybody who wants to be further right could join Reform, you know, frankly. And there's potentially the argument that Lord Johnson was making, Boris Johnson's brother, obviously not in the Commons anymore, but he was saying, elections are won in the centre ground. We have to learn from this. That's what happened in 2010. He wants the party to move back that way. And now Reform's offering an option for those who aren't there. Do you think that it could pan out that way?
We'll see. I mean, a week's a long time in politics, so let's see what happens over the next 12 months, right? But I do agree with Jo Johnson, which is something I don't think I've ever said before, in that I do think, for the most part, elections are won in the centre ground. Bear in mind, we didn't just lose votes to Reform here. We lost votes to the Lib Dems. We lost votes to the Greens. We lost votes to Labour.
Yeah, but can I just give you a breaking line that Reform has come second in 98 seats so far, which is, you know, a large number.
Yeah, but we came second in a lot more, is my point, and we lost votes all over. And so if we just pan directly to one side, I feel we are setting ourselves up for a catastrophic failure, because we will not be Reform. We can't out-reform Reform.
The British public, in my view, is marginally centre-left. Others might argue it's marginally centre-right. Either way, it's in the centre. And if you go and chase in the extremes, you lose. That's what happened to Jeremy Corbyn with the Labour Party, and that's what's happened with the Conservative Party chasing Reform.
2019. I mean, you won an enormous victory. It wasn't from the centre ground, though, was it?
I don't think
There was no Reform candidate against the Conservatives, that's the point.
If I may, I think 2019, there were two core messages: Brexit and levelling up. And levelling up is absolutely centre ground.
Well, there was also
levelling up is spreading opportunity.
as the opponent, which also focused
levelling
minds.
up is a much more leftist, socialist idea of using the state in order to reach distribute opportunity.
But this is my point. You're saying we veered off to the right in 2019.
No, you went left and right. Levelling up was a very ambitious project. You absolutely failed to do it, by the way. No,
the issue in 2019 and this election now is that Reform's intervention has given Starmer a whole lot of seats he wouldn't have otherwise had, and equally Reform's refusal to challenge Conservative MPs or Conservative candidates in 2019 gave Boris Johnson an artificially high majority.